Today I will show you a drama, romance, sci-fi film from 2019, titled Only. The story begins where a couple is seen walking through a forest. The woman asks for his understanding and forgiveness. It's been 400 days since the event. A man is seen crying in an apartment, then a woman crying in the shower. She's washing copious amounts of dirt from herself. Eva is taking a quick viral home test, while Will is waiting with her to see what the result is. They stare at the vial in silence, as helicopters and ambulances are heard outside. They quickly react and hide Eva in a special hiding spot in the bed. There's a knock on the door. Will opens the door for the military police. They enter and frisk him as well as ask for identification. When they ask about Eva, whose name is on the lease, he lies to them that she went to England and he hasn't seen her since. One of the policemen asks him why the apartment looks the way it does, and he replies that he quarantined it to keep her safe. Unfortunately, Will had forgotten to put away the testing kit and convinces them that it's for him. In the meantime, the other policeman finds something in the other room. Entire walls with pictures of women that have numbers written on them. Will says that those are just some women he knew. Before one of the officer leaves, he tells him not to worry, that they won't be taking a sick one, and shows Will the testing vial. The liquid has turned indigo. He tells Will she only has a few days left. After the police have left, Eva joins him and says that they need to pack and leave. As they're getting ready to go, she has flashbacks of their life together before the event, when they were happy. They drive through the desolate streets of the city, as an automated message alarms about the state of emergency, and Eva takes photos of the cityscape. The couple arrive at a supermarket and Will tells her to be careful as well as to stay close. She's wearing an unconvincing disguise to make her look like a man. Once inside, they take what they'll need, and when they see someone that works in the store, they go the other way to avoid him. Eva stops at the women's hygiene section, when the man catches up to them and grabs her. Will instantly points a gun at him, telling him to get on the ground. They pay him for the groceries, and Will tells him to count backwards until they are gone. Eva has a dream about the days surrounding the event, in which she is seen waking up and then going into her living room, where the news are reporting an incoming comet sighting. Will is getting his things ready to move in with Eva and her roommate. She comes home and her roommate Caroline tells her that she'll go out, so the two of them can have the place for themselves. She's even bought them champagne to celebrate. The couple makes love, and the next day Will has made them breakfast. Later, he prepares a surprise for her in the dining room and takes out two toys that symbolize the two of them on the day that they decided to move in together. This is the first day of the apocalyptic event. As they're sitting on the dining table, a bird hits the window and soot is seen falling outside like snow. Caroline comes in covered in it. She faints. Eva wakes up in the present, with Will telling her that they'll stay in a motel for the night. He goes out to get them a room and leaves the gun with her, as she stays back in the car. A transvestite prostitute knocks on Eva's window, offering her her services. When Eva ignores her and shows her the gun, she runs. Will gets back, and as they drive to their room, she can see the other men preparing guns in theirs. The following morning, Eva goes to the bathroom and covers her breasts with a cloth to hide them. She also takes some of the dust on the counter and uses it as makeup to simulate a beard. Later, they stop at a diner. Will doesn't want them to take the risk and eat inside, but Eva wants to have her last cooked meal in a restaurant. They walk in, and as soon as they sit down, the waiter brings over two menus. Will listens to the news reporting on the progress in the repopulation project, called the Embryo Project. The new artificial womb technology saw some advancements, as the fetus in the experiment survived to the second trimester. Eva marks their journey on a map, and the waiter brings them their order, as two men walk in and ask the waiter to turn up the news. An increase of the bounty for the reporting or locating on live females has been placed, as Eva and Will become increasingly anxious of being found out. The waiter tops off their coffee, and Will asks for the check, but suddenly sees that Eva's ear is bleeding. He panics and they run out without paying their check. As the waiter runs after them, one of the men from the motel stops him and says he'll take care of the check, then he grabs the map the couple has left behind. Later, Eva and Will are arguing in the car about her symptoms. He reminds her that the infection starts with hemorrhaging, then dizziness and loss of motor control, and if she even makes it as far as day 4, it's seizures and convulsions. She gets upset and makes him stop the car. Soon as he does, she runs out. Eva takes a moment to herself, away from Will. When she comes back, she asks to drive. They finally arrive at their destination in a camping site. Eva comforts Will by asking him to try and enjoy her last days. They go to find the waterfall that they came there to see. Back on the day of the event, Will and Eva have taken Caroline in the hospital. As they wait, they see more and more women coming in. All of them are barely walking and hemorrhaging. He realizes that something is going on and makes Eva leave. Walking through the hallways, they see people in hazmat suits and steal 2 suits for themselves as well. On the drive back home, they see chaos on the streets. As they are sealing their apartment, Eva is talking to her father on her phone. They seal and clean the apartment according to his instructions. Will isolates Eva in another room before she even takes off her protective suit. In the present, the two of them are in the forest. She's still taking pictures and he asks her why she still does it. That night, she goes into the tent and he stays by the campfire, playing music. She calls him in to help her with the bandage cover. He takes it off, but starts crying and leaves the tent. Eva wakes up in the past. Will has left her a note about her morning quarantine routine. She walks out of the room and sees that he has made changes in the entire apartment. He's in the kitchen boiling water, because whatever is causing the infection has gotten into the water. Will also tells her about the UV lights he's installed, that kill pathogens and germs. He thinks that it will all be over in a few weeks. Eva picks up her phone with the bag still on it and gets some terrible news. On day 4 of the event, there is already some news on the pathogen. It seems to only infect females. While males can have it in their system and be carriers, only women develop symptoms. Men are being advised not to have any unnecessary contact with women, so that they don't infect them inadvertently. And on day 44 they try to pass their time playing cards and eating canned food. That night, they hear a terrible commotion outside and they make the hiding place for her in the bed. Later, they're watching the news reporting on the situation. Healthy women are being held in captivity for the embryo project. Eva researches that more online and sees the terrible experiments done on women in the name of repopulation. Later, she's seen entering a group chat meant for surviving women. Eventually, Will takes away her phone, worried that she might be giving information about herself inadvertently. Meanwhile, the news reports about the world are devastating, terrorists taking down embryo project laboratories. Eva keeps chatting online with the other women, telling them to hang in there. While the news report over 10 million female deaths, Will gets angry with her for not obeying the rules of the quarantine, and while she understands that he's doing it all for her, she has had enough. They begin arguing constantly, as the ash which carries the pathogen keeps falling on Earth and the rioting keeps getting worse. Eventually, after almost a year locked up in quarantine, they are like two strangers living in the same apartment. Back in the present, Eva and Will are hiking through the forest and joking. That night, as Will is preparing the fire, he gives her another surprise, a flask full of alcohol. She looks at the gun and he decides to show her how to shoot. He's not that good at it either and they laugh about it. Eva takes the gun and gets the target on first try. Simultaneously, the two men from the motel are going after them, following their map. They reach their car and recognize it from before. The two of them get ready to follow them into the woods by taking their guns and slashing their tires. Later, the couple is seen at their campsite, drunk and having some fun. They both go into the tent together and start making love. Suddenly, Eva gets her first seizure. Will holds her until it passes. It's day 238 since the event. Will walks into a pawn shop, wanting to buy a gun. The salesman offers him a shotgun, thinking that he'll hunt for women and telling him that if he hits them in the ovaries he won't get a bounty. Will says he would prefer a handgun and the salesman gives him one. He gets back in the apartment where Eva is waiting for him. She goes into her room and isolates herself, while he goes through the full quarantine protocol they've installed. Will shows her the quick viral home test and says he'll take it, to see if he's a carrier. He opens the kit and reads the instructions, saying that if the liquid remains clear there is no pathogen and if it turns indigo, he should seek immediate medical attention. They wait for the test as sirens blaze outside. The liquid turns indigo. He says he's a carrier, but not sick. Eva has had enough from the kind of life they are forced to lead. In the present, Eva wakes up next to Will in their camp. She goes to get some water from the river, and as she's walking back to the campsite, she loses motor control. Will wakes up in the tent, only to find her gone. He yells after her and opens the tent, in front of which the two men are waiting, aiming a shotgun at him. The older man keeps asking him where she is. Will screams after her to tell her not to come back. They tie him up to a tree and keep asking about Eva. He tells them that she's sick and yells after her again. Eva hides behind a tree and sees what is happening in their camp. The older man gives his son instructions on where to look for her. They both go in different directions, but he's the one that instantly spots her and runs after her. Eva hides in a cave and he loses her trail. Unfortunately, she has a seizure and passes out. That night, the men are still at the campsite. The son is sleeping, while the father is keeping watch. He asks Will how he kept Eva safe and shares that he tried to do the same for his wife, but that she died after a few weeks. He tells him that he's not a monster, but that he just wants to help secure a future for his son. Will repeats that Eva's sick, but the man says that because of that they should find her before she dies and get her eggs in time, since they can only last for 6 to 7 hours after death. The man also tells him that his wife would have turned herself in, if that would have helped the future of the human race. The alarm on his watch goes off and he wakes up his son for the next watch shift. On day 374, Eva gets a message on the chat board. There is only one more participant left on the board, beside her. The other tells her that she has the first symptoms of the infection. She took the test and knows for sure what it is, so she only logged into the board to say goodbye to Eva and to tell her that she will leave with her husband. Eva begs her to stay, but she won't. She sends her a picture before she logs off. Eva prints it out and glues it onto her wall, next to the others. Back in the present, ash starts falling from the sky again as Will wakes up. Him and the boy, who's now guarding him, see Eva approaching the camp, naked. She approaches the boy first, looking at her completely stunned. Suddenly, she hits him over the head, takes a knife and releases Will from his restraints. As they're leaving, the father's alarm goes off and he starts calling for his son. Will shoots the tent with the shotgun, but doesn't kill him. It's day 400. Will hears Eva's phone and sees that her father is calling. Will wants to use a VPN, but Eva begs him to call the phone in case it's an emergency. Her father is upset and wants to see her and hear her, to know if she's alive. He tells her that they took her mother and that he tried his best to stop them. Eva cries and answers him, but Will quickly snatches the phone from her, telling her that she can't talk on an unsecure line. She loses it completely and argues with him. Will tells her that if she does it, they will find them and come to take her away. He says he won't let her do that, which sends her into a spiral. She feels like she's in prison and like he's controlling her. Eva has lost all hope and only wants to go outside and to talk to her dad. He keeps telling her that they can survive this, but she can't do it anymore. Eva grabs the gun and tells him to leave. Will tries to reason with her, and when he sees that he can, he goes. Left to her own devices, Eva takes out a protective suit and puts it on to go outside. Will realizes that she might do something before he leaves the building, so he comes back in the apartment. He doesn't find her there. Meanwhile, Eva has already reached the roof. She walks out to the edge and gazes over the city. Will finds her, but doesn't get to her in time before she opens her suit. He's devastated and crying. Eva realizes what she's done. In the present, the two of them are walking away from the camp through the woods. They finally get to the waterfall they've been trying to reach. They kiss. Later, they're sitting next to the waterfall as Will takes a picture of the two of them, with the day of her death written on her hand like the others. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.